Can you
What's happening, guys, and welcome back to the Riot. Glad to have you. Today, I want to talk about toxic masculinity. So, why do I want to talk about this? Well, it's something I've been wanting to talk about for a while now. It's been on my mind. In fact, for a few years now, but I just never really had the platform to really dig into it like I do now. So, I'm gonna dig into it, and I can't even tell you how much I despise this dumbass word, right? I think it's a word that was created by white liberal women used to basically take the balls away from men. And that might be in itself toxic that I even said that, right? But I don't give a fuck. So there we are. But no, it's a term that we've all heard over and over and over again, and by the same type of people, if you get what I'm saying. And I want to find out the actual definition of what toxic masculinity is because we hear it so much, right? So let's look it up. So what I did was I went to Webster's dictionary. Believe it or not, it's in Webster's dictionary. And I found out what toxic masculinity is supposed to mean, I guess. So let's read it together. All right, a set of attitudes and ways of behaving stereotypically associated with or expected of men, regarded as having a negative impact on men and on society as a whole. The destructive messages associated with toxic masculinity can lead men to feeling entitled to engage in violence against women. Really? So, engaging engaging in violence against women is a masculine thing? Nah, nah. Come on, man. We're not going to do that. See, any man who would hurt a woman physically, emotionally, mentally, that's called an asshole. That's called being an asshole. It has nothing to do with masculinity of any kind. And both sexes are guilty of being assholes. If we're being honest here, I mean, you ever heard of Amber Heard? Right? Because as far as I'm concerned, I don't know of any man purposely shitting in somebody's bed, and it doesn't get any more toxic than that. Almost literally, right? But yeah, that's their definition of toxic masculinity is the feeling entitled to engage in violence against women. Who does that sound like? Who who does that sound like wrote that? Because you only have to take three guesses, maybe even two. So I'm like, okay, that's the definition, right? That's Webster's definition of toxic masculinity. So show me some examples. Like, what are examples of toxic masculinity, right? So I decided to look that up as well. And here we go. Let's read it together again. A few examples includes telling boys to man up when they feel upset or justifying abusive and inappropriate behavior with the phrase boys will be boys. Toxic masculinity can be defined as the need to aggressively, there's that word again, to aggressively compete and dominate others and encompasses the most problematic proclivities in men. Okay, let's start with the word man up. So, if we're being honest here, men, we have had to man up for centuries, right? For centuries, men have had to be strong, or we would be dominated, we would be taken over by another tribe, right? Like we would be killed, and the women would be taken as one of theirs or murdered themselves, right? So men have always had to be strong. It's encoded in our DNA to be strong. But now it's toxic, right? See, when most people use the term man up, right? They're telling them they're being told to push their feelings aside, to push through the pain and get the job done. How is that toxic? Now, as far as boys will be boys, any moron would know that that usually applies to little boys. Little boys. Not talking about grown ass men, not even talking about teenage boys. I'm talking about little boys, kids. Because we all know little boys can be very rambunctious and, they want to get into everything. And, little boys do wild shit, right? This doesn't apply to like bullies, right? When kids become bullies. And usually the only people who use that term are the parents of those bullies who are also assholes, right? So again, we're talking about assholes here. We're not talking about masculinity because, especially when you're talking about a little boy, how does masculinity factor in to what they're doing and to who they are at that age? But see, it's that word, right? That word masculinity. And what's funny about, you know, that word, toxic masculinity, is you have no idea how many times a day I hear women bitching about where the men are. Where are the real men? How come I can't find a real man? You want to know why? See, you don't even realize, women, the problems that you help create. You help create a lot of fucking problems and you don't even realize it. I mean, we could talk about other shit regarding the things you're losing in, but let's stick to this for right now. You help create these problems, and then you wonder where the men at, right? I remember a few years ago, before COVID, I was working as a bartender. I mean, I was writing, for Film Thread and doing all that stuff, but I was also working at a bar, just to have some extra cash. And I've been a bartender for a while, and so I've heard tons of conversations. And I remember this one particular Sunday night, I was working, and I worked. My bar was near a train station, so a lot of people would come into the bar, waiting for their train, and then finish up and take their train home or wherever they're going. Right. So a lot of people were just in and out all the time. But I remember this one guy comes in, and he's waiting for his train, so he has a drink. Me and him are talking because it's kind of slow, and we're watching the game. Right. A group of women come in, and I take their order. I'm making their drinks, and I could see him out of the side of my eye walk over. And guys, you know what I'm talking about. He made that long walk over to talk to one of the women that he found attractive, right? They shot him down, or she shot him down, I should say. And her friends were laughing, blah, blah, blah. He took it like a champ, kept it classy, walked all the way back to his side of the bar. And you know what I did? I made that man a free drink because I respected the shit out of what he did. I respected that so much because it's something I don't see enough of anymore. He went over there, he took his shot, it didn't work. He kicked rocks, went back to his seat, right? That's a real man. He could have just easily ignored him, even though he wanted to talk to them, but he took his shot, and it didn't work out. But see, I don't see enough men doing that because they're afraid of the labels, right? They're afraid of being seen as aggressive. They're afraid of being labeled toxic, right? So they don't do that shit. Oh my god, I remember, and you guys remember. Look, if you're a guy, I know you've seen this commercial before, and it's the most hilarious commercial I think I have ever seen in my life. And I think it's a Gillette commercial, right? And these two guys are talking, and this woman walks by, and the guy sees her. One of the guys sees her, and it's like, wow, she's hot, and wants to go talk to her. And his friend grabs him, and he's like, "Hey, man, what are you doing? That's not cool." I honestly, I laughed probably about 5 minutes straight when I saw that commercial, because in my mind, I'm like, what bullshit is this? What is this? Right? Like, the guy was just literally going to go talk to her, step to her, right? And this beta friend of his, and by the way, I really don't like using those terms, beta, alpha. I feel like they're played out, but it fits for this commercial in every way. The beta guy is like, "What are you doing, man?" Like, what? What do you think he's doing? He's gonna go step to her. He wasn't being an asshole by looking at her. He wasn't being an asshole for wanting to go talk to her. But see, that commercial will have you thinking that that's wrong. That is wrong to step to a woman. And then women wonder, where the men at? you know, I come from a sports background. I consider myself a nerdy jock, if you will, because yeah, I play sports, but I also love comic books, you know, cartoons, that sci-fi movies, that whole deal. So I was kind of like the ghost who walked between worlds, if you will. So I'm a nerdy jock, and grew up with sports, that whole deal. And you're the whole point of sports is to win or to lose, and you learn a lesson either way. You learn how to lose, and you learn how to win. But see, we're in this society now, right? Where there's a whole generation of guys who, and obviously women, who grew up with participation trophies, right? Everybody wins. There are no losers. So men, I feel like, in a big way, have kind of lost that drive, right? Because it's getting slowly beaten out of us constantly by media, by people saying that masculinity is wrong. See, they want to call it toxic, but it's really masculinity they have a problem with. And what I saw at the bar that night with that guy, I'll be honest with you. I worked at that bar for years. I say 3 years. And I only saw that kind of shit happen a handful of times, which is crazy to me. Because back in the day, when I was, young and wild and going to clubs and going to bars, that was just a regular thing where a dude would step to a girl and talk to her. Women didn't have to ask where the men at back then, but women, you created this. You've helped to create this. And the irony of you helping to create this is that all of this shit was started by women who probably aren't into men anyway, if you know what I mean. But you straight women have helped cheer it on, not even realizing, again, to your detriment, what you're doing. See, I'll be damned. And maybe that's because I come from a generation where you had to be tough as shit. You had to be. The area I grew up in LA, in South Central LA, I could have gotten shot just wearing the color blue in my neighborhood. So best believe we had to be strong. You had to be strong. You couldn't be a bitch. And I feel like that has been lost. That grit has been lost. Or it's slowly getting beaten out of us every single day. And I feel bad for you younger cats out there, man, because you guys are having it drilled into you that if you're not soft, if you're not if you're not um you know pliable, if you're not willing to be effeminate, then you're toxic. That's what's being drilled into you. Anyway, guys, this is just something that I've been wanting to talk about for a little bit. I really, like I said, I despise the word because there is no such thing as toxic masculinity. I'm gonna say that shit one more time for the people in the back. There is no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's just masculinity. Period. There's assholes, sure. There's assholes on both sides, man and woman. You know what's really funny, guys? When they talk about violence towards women in that definition I read, but if you want to talk about abuse, if you want to talk about abuse, no one talks about a woman the way a woman talks about a woman. You get what I'm saying? Women say the foulest shit about and to other women more than I've ever heard from a man. You want to talk about some toxic shit? But yet we're the toxic ones, right? Anyway, this is all I have, guys. I just wanted to talk about this because I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of you know seeing it everywhere I look online. It's something that I think most of us can agree doesn't fucking exist. So if you agree with me, uh leave a comment. If you disagree with me, leave a comment. I'd appreciate it. Share my video with your friends if you're so inclined. Definitely like and subscribe to the channel. I don't even know what else to say, man. I just think we're living in dumb times. We're living in stupid times. We become clown world and we don't even realize how far gone this country is right now. So talk to you guys soon.